Welcome back to the Sports Blitz. Here's your host, Mark Freeman.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome. It's game week. Finally, we're back from a brief hiatus with the Sports Blitz. We hope you enjoy the new studio setup. We're still mourning the loss of Weldon Braxton to Minnesota. Their coach yesterday had a game Saturday. He said they put up nearly 400 yards of total offense. Defense and special teams didn't play all that well, and they got beat. But we wish Weldon the best this year. They're in Minnesota coaching the Itasca Community College Vikings, offensive coordinator, and we hope to have him back as the season ends. That'll be a few months from now, though. But it's game week. The Hogs are playing Auburn on Saturday. College football begins in earnest on Thursday. Woo! Yeah, that's happening. You've got 5 p.m. kick between A&M and South Carolina. That's a big one on the SEC Network. What a football game with two ranked teams to begin the SEC Network. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk to Coach Eli Craner, the Clarksville head football coach. They're taking on Russellville in a scrimmage tomorrow, and then they take on Lamar September 5th. That is a Highway 64 rivalry right there between the Panthers of Clarksville and the Warriors of Lamar. So we'll talk to Coach Craner here in a little bit. We'll also look at some Razorback football information. What has you most excited heading into this game on Saturday? We want to know your thoughts. You can give us a call at 968-NEWS. That's 968-6397. I know we've got some folks who are excited to have the show back, and we're excited to be back. So we want to hear from you today. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/RVL News, or the Sports Blitz page itself, facebook.com/Sports Blitz. You can answer today's CrossFit Russellville poll question. What are you most excited about seeing the Razorbacks out? The depth chart is out. We'll discuss that here in a little bit. Also, some bad news, Maddie. I don't know if you saw this, but it just broke across the wire a couple of minutes ago. KNWA, our content partner there in Northwest Arkansas, reported that Brandon Allen's vehicle was torched last night.
That's a shame.
Arson last night. They don't know if it was his vehicle that was the beginning of the fire, but 3 vehicles were lit on fire. Way to start the game week. I mean, if you're somebody who's a fan of Arkansas and you would do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about doing something like that, if you're that dumb, at least wait until he screws up. He hasn't even done anything yet.
This is what I want. Whoever, I know you're watching right now, the person who lit that car on fire, I want you to go buy yourself a hammer, a real heavy one, right? Grab it just real steady, turn it around, and smash your face because you're an idiot and you deserve it.
And that's what we can get away with, folks.
That's just absolutely ridiculous.
This is the radio.
Man, I can't believe that. For Brandon, how do you expect him to play now? He's dealing with this. I mean, it's just one thing after another with him. After a game last year, his vehicle was egged, and it's just like, okay, it's football. If you don't like him, go root for someone else, or just be really mad. But
Harvey Updike, come on,
burn somebody's house down, or burn somebody's car, or throw eggs at their car, or burn the tree,
and you got to keep
poison
in mind,
the trees.
These are like 20-year-old kids, 21, 22. You know, oftentimes at best, it's just like these are kids.
To me, I'll just be honest with you. If I were Brandon Allen and that happened to me, I would have a hard time. I mean, it's going to do one of two things. They're either going to circle the wagons around Brandon Allen and they're going to play well, play hard, or Brandon Allen's going to say, you know what, I've had enough of this crap, this campus, this state. He played for Fayetteville. His dad coached for the Razorbacks, and he's seen, I'm sure, how poorly his dad was treated. Apparently, Bobby Petrino, this has come out over the offseason, pushed Bobby Allen down in a meeting one day, just like out of the blue, shoved him out of a chair. This is reportedly in that story about Bobby Petrino. I don't know if you saw that.
Well, Bobby's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a giant douche. He's a moron. But anyway, Brandon Allen's had to see all this, and then he's had to experience what he did last year, being hurt and having people talk trash about him, and then eggs thrown at his car, his vehicle burned. I would be tempted to just say, peace, I'm out. I'm leaving the state, and good luck with whatever else you got going on. I'm going to take my brother, second string, Austin Allen, with me. It's kind of crappy, so that kind of taints game week. But regardless, Hogs are playing Auburn this Saturday, 4 o'clock on SEC Network. Do you have the SEC Network? I do.
Well, I
Direct
don't.
TV.
My
Do you
dad
have something?
does.
Yeah, you've got Direct TV also. It's on DirecTV, it's on Dish, it's on Suddenlink, it's on a bunch of different
and somebody else
places.
just got it, right? Like, is it,
There's a bunch of places. I don't
Somebody
know
else just
around
got it.
here who else
And
would need to have it, but I
push
know
it
that,
on to a new number.
yeah, it's like 75+ million
it's
people
crazy.
have it, so you're going to have access to it.
Domination, man.
And if at the very least you can go eat at one of the fine Russellville establishments that are not paying us to say their names, so I
Yeah.
won't, here on Saturday if you want to go watch the Hogs. But looking forward to college football kicking off big time Saturday. It's going to be a big one. We're going to give you our playoff, 4 playoff teams on the record today. I can go back and change a lot of things, but once we put it on the record here on August the 25th, 2014, it'll be there. It's set in stone. This is who I said from the
Question
very
before
beginning.
you get started, though, is Arkansas 1, 2, 3, or 4?
They're just outside the top 4.
Just outside
They're-
at number 73.
Unfortunately,
they're
they're
just
not
outside.
going to make the playoff this year. They are just out of the playoff. I'll give you my 4 teams here in a little bit. Also, NFL preseason. I just had a fantasy draft last night, Maddie. I got in the first round. I was the 4th overall pick. And this is a PPR league. You start 2 quarterbacks, and I got Peyton Manning number 4 overall.
Ooh. I watched
Yeah.
a book
Don't
of Manning
have a
again
clue
last
how.
night, so yeah.
I think what happened, the guy at number 1 was going to pick Peyton Manning, and he went auto pick because his computer disconnected from the internet.
Oh, no.
So the number 1 player in his queue wasn't Peyton Manning. It was the automatic list, and Adrian Peterson was number 1. So he got Adrian
Well,
Peterson.
yeah,
He's
that's
not
not a
going to be
bad
too
pick.
upset,
Yeah.
but he wanted Peyton Manning. You start 2 quarterbacks in this league. So he wanted Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning doesn't get picked number 1. AP goes number 1. So number 2 and number 3 had already planned on picking running backs because they thought Peyton Manning was gone, and they went LaShawn McCoy and Jamal Charles. So Peyton Manning falls to me at number 4, and I'm sitting here going,
Oh, boy.
yeah. Yeah, I got Peyton Manning number 4. My friend Garrett Hill, coach of the Pottsville Apaches junior high boys and assistant high school boys basketball, he got Drew Brees number 5, and then I rolled back around in the second round, and I got Randall Cobb. But then, I got Doug Martin, the muscle hamster, and then I turned around and got Randall Cobb and who was my 4th round pick, Roddy White. So I ended up with Le'Veon Bell. Roddy White was my 5th pick. So I ended up trading last night. I traded Jay Cutler and Randall Cobb for Carson Palmer and AJ Green.
Ooh.
So I upgraded wide receiver. It was a little bit of a downgrade at quarterback for the projections, but Carson Palmer put up better numbers than Jay Cutler did last year. So I think I won that trade. It was at least very, very even, and obviously both of us feel like we got the better end of that. And I'm going to make some trades. So I know you're looking forward to fantasy football. So those of you that have drafted, you're in for a good season. Hopefully you didn't have Sam Bradford on your team.
Oh, boy.
He tore his ACL at that injury that he was coming back from last year, tore the same knee. Just a terrible, terrible blow to a guy. And if you want to look on the bright side for Sam Bradford, at least he was one of the last of the guaranteed money babies, is what they called him. He got like $50 million guaranteed, and that's not even possible anymore. So
And I think I saw that last night, and I'm probably not alone, because when I saw that on my ESPN app, I immediately thought, well, that's it. That'll do it for him. You can't. I mean, it was last year in the middle of last season. I think the same knee, same injury. It's just like you can't.
I mean, I don't know about
stuff
done,
like that.
but I can tell you this: either St. Louis is looking to trade right now. I'm hearing that because Sean Hill's their starting quarterback. I'm hearing that
Who?
Ryan Mallett, Sean Hill, the former backup in Detroit. I'm hearing that Ryan Mallett is on the block right now. They're not going to play him in their 4th preseason game. They're going to start Jimmy Garoppolo and let him play. And if they think he can be the backup to Tom Brady, then Ryan Mallett may be traded to a team like St.
Jimmy
Louis.
had some impressive stats. the other
Yeah,
day.
but I mean, honestly, I think that New England's doing what they're doing because they're holding their cards close, and they know that St. Louis. They figured that not St. Louis, but particularly, but somebody was going to need a quarterback. Like the Houston Texans, they should have got Ryan Mallett 3 months ago, and then they could have drafted like they did Jadeveon Clowney and been set for a
Who's
pretty
gonna be
good
their
season.
quarterback
Their
right now?
quarterback's Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, so they're in trouble.
Congratulations, you guys are going to suck again. Because if not, it's Case Keenum, and I mean, I'd rather have Ryan Mallett than either one of those guys. But it looks like the New England Patriots bet on themselves as far as we'll keep Ryan Mallett, we want him, is going to pay off because now St. Louis, they've put an offensive line around. They put Zach Stacy and some offensive weapons. They got guys last year like Tavon Austin,
Zach Stacy
at
of
receiver.
Vanderbilt?
Yeah, they've got some guys, and they were trying to win now. And when you got Sam Bradford hurt again, they're going to be pretty desperate. So they're going to put a pretty decent offer together, I feel, for Ryan Mallett. That just look for that to happen. And if it doesn't, it was Maddie's fault.
I want Ryan, as usual. I
Yeah,
want
of
Ryan
course.
to get to play, but man, I mean, and you made some good points about St. Louis, but I don't want him to go somewhere where he's going to die. You know,
that's a tough division.
I don't want him to go to a Raiders type team and just never make it
this
out.
This is the equivalent because they're in the same division as San Francisco and Seattle, so that's going to be pretty well impossible for him to win a lot of games. You're definitely not going to win the division. That's never going to happen. So Ryan Mallett, I look for him to be traded to St. Louis. At least I look for St. Louis to put an offer together for him because there's just absolutely no way that St. Louis can win with Sean Hill, and they know that. So they're going to have to do something. Ryan Mallett not going to play, so that's kind of breaking news right now. We'll see where he goes. Also, Cam Newton fractured a rib, so he's out. Looks like for the last of the preseason, and they expect him to play in the regular season opener. So we'll see if Cam Newton comes back from that. Wes Welker, third. Say what?
It's that old scam.
Old scam Newton, yeah. And Wes Welker, third concussion in 10 months. People are asking him to shut it down for a career. That's tough. I don't know. I think he'll probably play and come back. I don't think the hit was dirty. I really don't. I don't like DJ Swearinger. I think he does go after folks and headhunt, sort of like Brandon Merriweather did for the old Redskins. But I don't think that was a dirty hit. I just think it's unfortunate that Wes Welker was getting down and he was hit and he has a concussion. I do think he'll end up playing again. I hope it wasn't bad, and for his sake, I hope it doesn't end his career. I'm a Peyton Manning fan, so I want to see the Denver Broncos do well. And I will say that I'm trying to use this momentum for as far as Wes Welker being hurt to go get Emmanuel Sanders because his stock went way up. Eric Decker goes to the Jets, and Wes Welker gets hurt. Emmanuel Sanders just became very, very valuable. They've got Demaryius Thomas, they've got Julius Thomas, they've got Monty Ball at running back, but Wes Welker was sort of the straw that stirred the drink there as the receiver that come across the middle and would eat up chunks of yards from Peyton Manning.
He was kind of like our Joe Adams at Arkansas. It's like if you had to have a few yards, you can get it to him.
Yeah,
and he's that type of guy.
I think that Emmanuel Sanders in his stead will be that guy. Who we got on the line?
It's Eli.
We got Coach Craner on the line. I'm excited now because now we get to talk a little high school football as the season is not going to be starting this week. It's going to be starting next week. But I brought on Coach Eli Craner from the Clarksville Panthers because I wanted to talk a little bit about this Tuesday. They're playing Russellville in a scrimmage. Eli and old Russellville Cyclone. Coach Craner, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Mark. Good to hear from you.
Man, I'm looking forward to football. We were talking a little NFL, a little college football, but let's go back to where it all began. The love for football for a lot of these kids started, and that's in high school football. Your Panthers taking on Lamar. We'll get to that game here in a little bit, but you've got a scrimmage Tuesday against Russellville, and I want you to just walk me through a little bit of what's going on in the offseason, how things are looking for you guys there. I've heard a lot of excitement going on there in Johnson County.
Well, as we speak, Mark, I have about 21 fourth grade Panthers in my PE class.
Awesome.
Sitting right here playing quiet and still waiting to see who can go to the bathroom. They know how to do prisoner squats, jumping jacks, seal jumps, single leg raise, iron cross, and rollover stretch. It's the same warm-up we do right with the varsity Panthers. So, as a matter of fact, I'm going to let them all scream at you on the count of three.
Please do.
1, 2, 3.
Yes. That's what that's what it's all about right there.
The coolest part about my job is that I get to start with these guys. I have 7th grade football, junior high football, and varsity, and we're all really excited. I mean, they're all doing the same warm-ups, the same football plays, condensed versions of the varsity plays. And that's what we spent this whole summer on, just trying to get up on that system, to get up on that program building side of high school football and feeder programs involved in that.
Oh, absolutely. So talk to us a little bit about the excitement that you've seen. I know that I've heard that you've got some volunteers showing up and you've got obviously great numbers going right now because of the infusion of excitement that you've pumped into the program. But what have you heard and what have you seen about excitement for Panther football this offseason?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely excitement, and, people come and say we're excited about this, excited about that, and we're glad about there's good numbers. That 7th grade group's got about 52 in it. That 8th and 9th grade junior high group has got, I think we're still tipping right at 80. But our varsity, it was kind of a love-hate there. When I first got here, we had a ton that wanted to come out, and now we're back down right at about 50, which is, I think, about where they've been in the past. But we're okay with that because we've said that, that's the 50 that really want it. And that group is the group that we're really excited about because those guys have worked this summer. I know our coaching staff, we've talked about work this summer, and we think we're ready to play a football game. So that's why we're so excited about this deal with Russellville tomorrow night. And our junior high will be there tonight playing as well because we've put in a lot of work in the summer to go get it.
Well, talk about the improvements that you've seen. I know, from talking to some players and folks that I know around the program, there are things that they've seen that have come a long way. But talk about the improvements that you've seen in individual players and in the team as a whole.
I think, first off, we got really good pretty quickly at football fundamentals. Combo blocking is very base to what we do on the offensive line. And we've gotten pretty good at that pretty quickly over the summer. Running specific routes and catching the ball properly and putting the ball away after they've caught it. We've gotten pretty good at that. Our base reads by our quarterback, putting two hands on the ball in contact by our running back. All that stuff has come along. Where we were the farthest off and where we're still working, but great improvement is made, has been on the emotional side of it. Being able to handle defeat, being able to handle a failed play, getting a touchdown scored on you or getting stopped at the line of scrimmage and come back and still play the next play with proper fundamentals and proper brain work. That's what we've really worked on. And I think we've got a little ways to go on it, but there's only one way to tell, and that's line up and play 4 quarters of football.
Well, it looks like you're going to get some work in tomorrow against Russellville. Talk to us a little bit about what's going to be happening there. I saw I looked at your blog, and you can plug that if you'd like, where folks can find you there. I shared it on the River Valley Leader page and the Sports Blitz page. But talk a little bit about what's going to be happening tonight and tomorrow night against the Cyclones here in Russellville, and then kind of where you go goal-wise from here, because I know you've seen some improvements, you've seen some things you want to work on. I wondered if it changed your overarching goals for the team this year.
Yeah, for sure. We laid it down, this past, I guess it was 2 weekends ago, maybe 3, before we started the summer camp and all that, of where exactly we wanted to be as a football program at the end of the season. We did it for every program. And that's kind of what we want to see at the end of the scrimmage, see where we are on that. One of them is that we're the best conditioned team. Nobody will run harder than us or be in more condition, and that goes with our tempo. We'll be the toughest team. We won't ever bend over or show fatigue. We will make a game plan that we can execute. We've got a very simple game plan going into this Russellville team camp scrimmage, just so see if we can execute it, and then learning that emotional stability, and that's where the 1440 greater than me comes in. So we'll gauge all that. We have a grading system that we'll check it out after the scrimmage and see where these guys grade out. And then the great thing is we still got a little bit of time there after. We'll get a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then finally get into that regular game week, which is something I think all of us are ready to hit, that routine of preparation for a football game.
Yeah, September 5th, big one against Lamar. This goes so much further than just a regular game, a regular season opener. It's a rivalry. It's an intra-county rivalry. It's a game that hasn't been played in I don't even know how many years. How do you kind of balance, it's my first game with this school, it's our first game in this program, it's a huge rivalry game, it's the first game of the year. How do you kind of block out all the noise and get ready for a game like that?
I guess something we've been talking with the boys about is every game is the Super Bowl. So if every game's a Super Bowl, then, a rivalry or a first game or anything like that mentally can't mean anything more because the Super Bowl is as big as they get. So every game is the Super Bowl. And, this means a lot to these kids, but it really means a lot to a lot of people in the community with old memories and old, rivalries. Where these boys, they do have friends and stuff over there, but I'm really hoping that we come out and just play football because that really goes with our mentality of 1440 greater than me. We're not focused on the outcome. We're not focused on who it is. We're focused on the play at hand, playing that play, doing your job, and putting the team above yourself.
So what do you know about Lamar heading into this game?
I really don't know a lot, Mark, and actually I'm going to have to end it right there because these little ones have had about all they can handle looking at me in the quiet, and still, as we sit here, they're looking in their classes, just getting ready to have to head back.
All right, well, I appreciate your time.
That'll be a good one to end it on there before I get too deep into what I know about Lamar.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll get to talk to you again very soon. We appreciate you taking the time, and tell your kids we appreciate them for being quiet and still.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Mark.
All right, thank you. That's Coach Eli Craner, Clarksville head football coach. Looking forward to a big game, big rivalry game, like we said, against the Lamar Warriors on September 5th. That's going to be the opening week for high school football. It's also going to be the opening week for the NFL, so that's going to be a big one. You've got college football as sort of an appetizer. A lot of folks would prefer that as a main course, but you've got college football that's going to be kicking off this weekend, and then the next weekend heading into high school football. We appreciate Coach Craner. We look forward to talking to many other coaches throughout this season heading into high school football. We're going to hit our first break. We went a little long on the first segment there, but that's all right. We've got plenty left for you on the Sports Blitz. Stay with us.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
All right, we've gone full circle on football. We've been high school, college, pro. We'll be back to college and pro football here in just a moment. Want to hit a couple of things here on the wire, the stuff that's going on in the other sports, the periphery. Obviously, football is getting most of the attention right now from everyone. But the Little League World Series, I don't know if any of y'all watched it. I really don't like baseball. I'll just be honest. I don't like baseball at all, but I enjoyed what I saw of the Little League World Series from, Monet Davis was the big story, the girl from Philadelphia, who they made the semifinals of the U.S. bracket, and they were a very good story. It was fun to watch. The Las Vegas team, who, they were just bombing folks. They were beating people by a lot in every game. And then Chicago, who came back and beat Las Vegas, makes the World Final. They played South Korea. They fell in the Little League World Series championship, but Chicago was able to win the U.S. side of the Little League World Series, and it was a huge story for a lot of reasons. One, it's fun to watch a U.S. team that just can kind of galvanize a country, but for two, this is a team that they're called the Jackie Robinson All-Stars, and it's a predominantly African-American team, lots of black kids from Chicago, and baseball desperately, I was listening to Colin Cowherd on the way in here, desperately needs an infusion of black talent. Can I just be honest with you guys? I'll just be honest. This is all I know how to do. all sports are better when black athletes are participating because they're just better than white athletes at most everything. I mean, watch a sport. Who's the fastest man in the world? Who's the best baseball player ever? Who's the best basketball player ever? Who's the best football player ever? It's just not an opinion. This is pretty much fact. So watching those kids play baseball, it just looked like, man, they can go. They can play. And that's nothing against Vegas or Philadelphia or any of those other teams that had white players, and the Chicago team wasn't all black. But to watch those kids play, it gave me a little bit of hope for baseball. They need, it's like something like 10% black now, and it's a lot more Latino and then that type of thing. But I'd like to see the inner city baseball. For one, it would keep a lot of kids out of trouble if there was something else for them to do, because there's only 5 people on a basketball court at a time, and there's only 11 people on a football field, and not everybody's the same size. It's just, to me, I think baseball could use an infusion of black talent. Love to see a lot of those kids sort of spur on the next generation to play baseball. It's kind of like what Coach Craner's doing at Clarksville in football. He's getting folks who wouldn't have normally played football to come out and give it a try because they're excited about what he's doing, and maybe kids can get excited about that. When I was in school in junior high, it was everybody played football. All the good athletes played football. There was no, if they were good basketball players, well, they played basketball too. But they played football, and that was like their first sport. And now it looks like that's coming back to Clarksville, which, thank goodness, because I just got sick of watching crappy football. But it's maybe these Chicago kids can. I'm sorry, I just know how to say nothing but the truth. I'm just sorry. But maybe these Chicago kids will spur some folks on to play baseball. Maybe eventually they'll make it exciting enough for me to want to watch. I'm just saying. I'm not a baseball fan, but for those of you that are baseball fans, give us your thoughts. You can call us at 968-NEWS. It's 968-6397. We're working through some technical stuff, and Jason says that the video is a lot better now. It was a little juddery there for a little bit. Don't know what's going on with it, but we knew there would be some kinks on a first day back. So also, switching gears from baseball to basketball, I don't know if you've been paying attention to the U.S. men's national team. They're preparing for the FIBA World Championships. This is sort of a precursor to the Olympics that'll be 2 years from now. And you've got a lot of the best players that aren't there. LeBron and Kobe and Russell Westbrook and some of these guys decided not to play anyway. Dwight Howard, none of these guys are there. Kevin Durant dropped out a couple weeks in, which was kind of a huge letdown to a lot of folks. He was there, and then he decides not to play, and that's his decision. I didn't really like it, but if he was going to be there, why not play and stay through? But he got a little tired. I think it was sort of the Paul George injury that kind of made him think, whoa, I'm about to sign a $28 million a year contract with Under Armour to be an endorser. I don't know that they're going to offer that if I'm hurt, and there's always that chance playing for Team USA and playing basketball in general at a competitive level that you could end up getting hurt. So I think that had a lot to do with it. That and the U.S. team is a Nike predominantly very dominant sponsor there. Them having a huge Under Armour contract there would just kind of be, I don't know, it'd kind of be hard. They're already having to hide Derrick Rose, who's endorsing Adidas, behind people so that his logos aren't seen on the jerseys and stuff like that. So it'd just be a big headache, and I think Kevin Durant didn't really want the headache. So I did see today that Derrick Rose, he's looked pretty good coming back from injury. He was a little sore, and they sat him in the last game. And as he came back this game before last, I guess he sat out. This last game, he came back and played all right. Looks like Kyrie Irving's going to get the start. I don't want to say it's shocking, but it's a little bit surprising that Derrick Rose is not going to get the start there for Team USA. Kyrie Irving is. Kyrie Irving now coming off the news that Kevin Love's a teammate now. He lost Andrew Wiggins, lost Anthony Bennett, but he gained Kevin Love as a teammate, gained LeBron James. This is his chance to show on the world stage, Maddie, that, hey, I can be a starting point guard for a great, great team. I can run a team. I can be unselfish, when he said last year I wasn't a real good leader. So I'm not all that surprised that Coach K, the Duke head coach, would start a Duke product in Kyrie Irving over Derrick Rose. For a couple of different reasons, it's going to be interesting to see Kyrie take the helm.
Yeah, and on a Kyrie point, but also unrelated to USA basketball, LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love will win a championship.
I hope they do. I hope they do. I don't know about this year.
It is going to happen.
It depends to me, and this is NBA talk that we'll save for a couple months from now.
Yeah.
But it depends to me on how healthy the San Antonio Spurs are and really just whether or not their age catches up to them. Tim Duncan's 37 years old. I know he started sort of the trend of, all right, I'm going to lose 20 or 30 pounds, and I'm going to extend my career. And now Kobe Bryant has done it. And Carmelo Anthony, I don't know if you've seen him, looks 20 or 30 pounds lighter. LeBron James lost some weight. They're sort of cutting back at that 30-ish age and sort of kind of trying to extend their career. I expect that's gonna help LeBron James. He knows he's not gonna have to bang. He's not gonna have to be the 4 because they got Kevin Love. I sort of think that was a little bit of a tip-off before the trade was even consummated that we're getting Kevin Love because LeBron James is cutting weight. He knew I don't have to be beaten on as the 4-man as I was once before in Miami. I can lose some weight, be quicker, be a little bit more athletic, and not have to worry about it because we're getting Kevin Love in. So I'm looking forward to the NBA season. And like I said, San Antonio, it's sort of like where I was with Alabama in football. Until you beat Nick Saban, I don't think you can do it. And the way the Spurs played last year, until they're beaten, they're going to have to be unhealthy for me to pick somebody else because the way they dominated last year was just, man, it was unreal for a Miami Heat fan or a LeBron James fan to watch the team just get dismantled like that. So San Antonio has my respect. My hat's off to them. Jason, man, what's going on?
Hey, how y'all doing today? Glad that y'all are finally back on the air.
Yeah, man, it was a long hiatus for me to have to sit in here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and not do the show.
Right, yeah, it's good having Eli Craner on there too. I think he's really going to turn that program around. Clarksville's been down, nothing against you, but Clarksville's been down for a while, and I think with Craner there, I think he's going to be able to get the he was already talking about he had a bunch of 4th graders in there, so maybe he can build from the foundation up and really put a solid football program back there in Clarksville.
Oh, definitely. I'm hoping he can. I think he's infused some talent. Some guys have come out to play. Also, his excitement and energy and a system that's set. This is what we're going to do every single year. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I want to talk to Coach Holt about what he sees tomorrow. So maybe I'll get Coach Holt on Wednesday because he's going to scrimmage against Clarksville on Tuesday. We'll get a little bit of preview from Russellville football and hear from Coach Holt about what he thinks about his prodigy there in Eli Craner doing things over there in Clarksville. But Jason, I know you're probably wanting to look a little bit at the Razorbacks, aren't you?
Oh, of course. This is the best time of year for me because we're undefeated. We got to the national championship, so it's all good right now.
Yeah, we're just outside of my college football playoff. I've got my 4 teams, and Arkansas shockingly didn't make the cut, but I know that they're probably right there on the cusp for you as well.
Oh yeah, it's going to be an exciting football season. I think Arkansas can be a lot better team-wise, but with the schedules that they have, I'm just not for sure if that's going to translate into more victories this year.
Yeah.
I think we play 7 teams in the top 25 or something like that, which is just crazy, and then that's not counting going to Texas Tech, which is going to be a hard game, and also going to Mississippi State, which Mississippi State's on the verge of being a top 25 team, but the schedule that we have is just crazy.
It is brutal. And then seeing today that I don't know if you saw or did you hear us talk about Brandon Allen's truck got set on fire last night. That just adds to the confusion and chaos of a game week. It's just, to me, it's kind of unfortunate. Now you're seeing recruits. I saw it on Twitter. Some recruits are saying, I don't know if I want to go to Arkansas anymore because people are doing crazy stuff like this. I think it's just sort of unfortunate that that's happening, and that has nothing to do with the schedule. That's just, that's inside his own head. Brandon Allen's going to have to be thinking about whether or not he even wants to be at Arkansas, and who could blame him if he just said, forget this junk. I'm not having to deal with this anymore. I'm going to leave. That's just kind of frustrating. That's neither here nor there. The depth chart is out, Jason. I don't know if you saw that, but Jonathan Williams, Alex Collins, Corliss Marshall, is all there. There's no starter. It's Alex Collins or Jonathan Williams or Corliss Marshall there at running back. That's one of about 4 other different places that you see an or on the offensive and defensive depth chart.
Man, I didn't hear notice that about Brandon Allen. I'm gonna have to look into that and try to find out some stuff on that. But on the depth chart, man, when you got all 3 of those running backs, I mean, it's hard to say which one's better than the other one. I mean, every one of them has got different intangibles that make them a good back. I think the all-around back, I think, is Jonathan Williams. When you look at Alex Collins, he's probably got the more cutting vision, ability like that. And then you look at Marshall, man, he's just a home run threat every time touches the ball. And I don't know if you've seen the video of his 57-yard run that he had just the other day in the scrimmage, but when he hit that hole and accelerated, I'm not trying to compare him to him by any means, but it looked like an old number 5 out there running.
You know what? You're the second person I've heard say that.
I mean, when he just hit that hole, he was gone, and there was no way in the world anybody was going to catch him. And Arkansas hasn't had that probably since McFadden and Jones, and we had both of them in the backfield. They were able to do it any time, but, Arkansas really hasn't had a home run threat like that. And if I was Bielema, it would be hard for me to keep Marshall off the field quite a bit. But, I mean, like I say, all 3 of them are great backs. Collins went over 1,000 last year as a true freshman. Williams was very close at 900, and then you got Marshall, the kind of the surprise factor. Nobody really knows that much about him other than he's a home run threat and he's doing all this in scrimmage against our defense. But I think all of them are just sensational backs, and I'm very, very excited about all 3 of them.
Well, I want to ask you today's CrossFit Russellville poll question then before we get you out of here. What are you most excited about seeing with the Hogs? Obviously the running back to me is the big one. I want to see which running back will sort of take the lead. I want to see which one will be the most dominant running back, and you're going to get a real good look in the first week against a conference opponent and a top 10 team in the country. But I want to know from you, what are you most excited about seeing from the Hogs this year?
Of course, you could say on the running backs, but for me, I want to see how the defense reacts to Rob Smith's, defensive coaching. Clay Jennings in the secondary, Seagrass coaching the defensive line. I'm really anxious to see how they form as a team and really come and gel together, because everybody keeps ranting and raving about, Tevin Mitchell. He's looked the best he's in a long time. Carroll Washington's stepping up at corner. Well, man, they were on the field last year, and I remember them getting burnt almost every single time somebody threw a pass play. And their linebackers are supposed to be better. So that's really what I'm excited about. I'm excited to see how Rob Smith coaching is going to come in and affect the defensive players that we have on campus.
Well, I'm looking at the depth chart here, and you mentioned cornerbacks. Tevin Mitchell's third string. He's actually on the second team there at that cornerback position. Carroll Washington is first by himself, and then they've got DJ Dean or Tevin Mitchell, but Tevin's listed third there as a senior behind a sophomore, so that's kind of a telling thing there. And then Jared Collins over Andre Tolliver at the other corner. So, and then at linebacker, you've got Braylon Mitchell, Brooks Ellis, and Martrell Spade are your starters. There's no real surprise there, but sort of surprised to see a senior in Tevin Mitchell, who, like you said, I've heard a lot of folks talking good things about, to be listed third on the depth chart.
Yeah, I think, all of our corners, I think, are all pretty much interchangeable. I don't know. I haven't really looked at the depth chart yet, but is Will Hines on there? Because they were talking about him. He's really been doing good the last week or so. And
he's not on the 2D.
See, I just think that's going to probably be a week-to-week thing. If, you said Carroll Washington, who, DJ Dean, is that who you said was starting?
Carroll Washington and Jared Collins are your starters, but Andre Tolliver's backing up Collins and DJ Dean or Tevin Mitchell behind Carroll Washington. So I don't know which one that you would have Hines at, but I liked Hines last year. Last year I didn't like anybody, but I liked Hines, the thought of Hines much more than the execution.
Right. Oh, I'm with you there, but I think all the corners. I don't think there's one that's just standing out, and then he's going to be our new lockdown corner. I think they're all interchangeable. I think they're all pretty much on the same level. Now, you're talking about Henry Tolliver, man. I think that kid is going to be a stud in time. I really wish they could redshirt him this year, but, man, he is balling out right now, and I think he's going to be really good in the long term. Which there's a bunch of young defensive backs that I like a lot.
Yeah, he's 6'1", 192. He's looking obviously he looks the part. He passes the eyeball test, so we'll see how that all works out. I'm interested to see here. You got Hunter Henry and A.J. Derby starting at tight end. It's been a while since you've seen a 2 tight end set on the Arkansas depth chart as like the very beginning. It's not like this is your tight end, here's his backups. It's tight end number 1, tight end number 2. So you got A.J. Derby, who, God help him, he can't throw a pass, but I hope he can catch one.
Yeah, Jeremy Sprinkle, man, nobody really talks too much about him. I mean, he makes big plays after big play after big play in the scrimmage, and they said, he's, bigger and stronger and faster than he was, and I think all 3 of them, of course, Hunter Henry's going to be, I think Hunter Henry's just unbelievable. All 3, I think, are really capable of being, stretching the field and blocking and, catching the ball and, doing what the tight end needs in Bielema's offense.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely think that. All right. We don't need to get into too much further on this, Jason. Are you going to give us a call on Wednesday or Friday? Now, Prediction Friday, I want to hear from you for sure, but can you call on Wednesday?
I'll call Wednesday. Now, Friday, I'll try to. I'm going to be going to the Auburn game, so I'll be traveling. If I can, I'll call in on Friday, too.
All right. I see how it is. If not, you can give us your prediction on Wednesday, or you can text me your prediction. I want to get them all on the record and see what we all expect. Obviously, you don't expect too bad of a game there. You wouldn't be heading to Auburn.
And it really depends on how much Marshall plays. If Marshall, which I've said, if Bielema gets in and we get the ball first and we go down and score, and then they go 3 out with their backup quarterback, and Arkansas marches down again and scores, goes up 14-0 or 10-0 or something like that, I'm sure Marshall will be in on the next series. Now, if he actually sets out the whole first half, I think Arkansas has a great chance. Do I really think Arkansas is going to lose, or do I really think Arkansas is going to win? Probably not, but I do think that they'll cover the 21-point spread. But I think it's going to be an interesting game. I'm sure Bielema has been all summer long and all winter long. He's been prepping for this one game. So if we could jump out, and get up 14-0 or 10-0 or something like that, I think that's going to help us out a lot.
Yeah, it's just going to be, to me, whether or not Arkansas can stop Auburn at all. And that's with the second-year quarterback for the first time under Gus Malzahn. In his 7 years, he's never had a quarterback come back for a second year. To have Marshall come back whenever he does come back and play in that game, I assume it'll be before halftime. I think it'll be at most 2-3 series, unless Arkansas is just terrible and he can sit him the whole half, and then he can say that was the plan all along. I think that you'll see him sooner than later, and Arkansas is going to have trouble stopping Auburn. But that's neither here nor there. We'll discuss the breakdown on the position by position. We'll look at the depth chart here in just a little bit. Jason, we appreciate your time, man. We'll have to talk on Wednesday about Jimmy Witt.
Oh, man.
I know you're excited about that.
Oh, yeah, Arkansas got a good one there.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later, man. Jason, appreciate you calling in today. Let's hit a break. We got a couple more things to hit on the show today. We want to look a little bit more Razorbacks. I'm seeing some stuff across Twitter about Brandon Allen's car. This suspected arson, 3 different cars burned up. His was one of them. You've seen recruits say something like, I don't know if I want to come to Arkansas anymore. That's C.J. O'Grady, who's a tight end from Fayetteville, who is committed to the Hogs. Man, that's just, he could have gone anywhere. He chose to go to Arkansas. He hasn't signed anything yet. This is just a commitment. So this could affect things. And then I see Bray Cook say something like, this is fuel to the fire. For the team, they're going to, like we said, they're going to circle the wagons around Brandon Allen, and I hope that this causes a focus that we haven't seen in a long time from the Razorback football program. We'll hit a break. We'll come back. We'll look at college football, NFL, and we'll wrap it up for a Monday.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
All right, we've got the depth chart for the Razorback football game against Auburn this Saturday. We've been over a lot of it in the last segment. As you know, Brandon Allen going to be the starter at quarterback if his head's on straight at all. Bad thing about it is if he's not the starting quarterback, his brother is. So, you just burnt my vehicle up and I'm just so messed up that I can't play. Here, let's get my brother in there who's probably not in any better spot mentally. I think Brandon will be fine. I think he'll play. It's just it's frustrating to me to think about what stupid people do. Burning up Brandon Allen's car for no good reason at all. It's crazy to me. So Brandon Allen, Austin Allen there, you're 2 deep at quarterback. We talked about the 3 deep, 2 deep at running back with Jonathan Williams, Alex Collins, and Corliss Marshall listed as or. They're in that order.
Yeah.
You'll see all 3 of them, obviously, at running back there for the Hogs. At wide receiver, you've got Keon Hatcher, backed up by Drew Morgan and Jared Cornelius there. That's Keon Hatcher or Drew Morgan. Heard a lot of good things about Drew Morgan, the Greenwood product, this offseason. Then you've got Demetrius Wilson and Cody Hollister, the 2 deep there on the other wide receiver. Tight end, Alex Volsky backing up Hunter Henry, who was a freshman All-American. We look for big things from him this year. And as we mentioned before, A.J. Derby backed up by Jeremy Sprinkle at the other tight end. It gets interesting at the offensive line positions because Dan Skipper is going to start at left tackle, but Cameron Jefferson is going to be his backup.
I'm excited about
A lot
him.
of folks were talking about Cameron Jefferson being a starter at left guard, but he's now moved out to tackle, and he's not starting. He's going to be a backup. That's kind of interesting. Luke Charpentier at left guard, backed up by Sebastian Tritola. Mitch Smothers, heard a lot about him this summer, taking over the center position. He's done that. Frank Ragnow, the talented freshman, going to back him up. At right guard, you've got Denver Kirkland, backed up by Austin Beck. And then at right tackle, Bray Cook, backed up by the freshman Brian Wallace. A little bit of an interesting twist there on the offensive line as things have been changed up. But obviously the guys got what they wanted, and they've got some depth there on the offensive line, too deep at every position. The guys that I think can step in and play pretty well right now. So you see Sam Pittman doing his job and making sure that he's worth that big money that Arkansas paid to keep him from Alabama. So we'll see how the offensive line shapes up.
Can we have a moment here to just I want to make a new segment for this football season called the Kool-Aid Minute, because I want you to give me your best case scenario for each game each week, and of course this week it's Auburn. So if we're gonna win, how are we gonna win? That type of a thing.
Oh man, if Arkansas wins, a couple of things are gonna have to have happened. They're gonna have to have jumped on Auburn while Marshall was out, and then they're going to have to hold on for dear life because I think Auburn's going to score. I think somebody was telling me the other day that they didn't think Arkansas would score more than 14 points. I think they're going to score 24 points. I think they're going to score at least 24 points against Auburn. I wasn't too excited about Auburn's defense anyway. Auburn's offense was all that really got me, and they lost D Ford. They lost some guys due to some injury and or legal issues. So
we got stroked about 3 times last year, right? Which was South Carolina,
South Carolina, Alabama, and
Florida.
One more, Florida.
And see, we scored 10 against Florida and 0 against the other 2. But those
are great defenses too.
That's what I'm saying. Those are teams known for their defense. So I don't think you can look at the Auburn game and say, "Well, we're only going to score 2 touchdowns or 10 points, whatever." I don't at all believe that. I just don't.
No, I'm with you. I think that Arkansas is going to score some points, and it'll just kind of be whether or not they can stop Auburn.
Yeah.
And I have questions about that.
Well,
Sammy
nobody
Coates
could last
outside.
year.
Whew. Now Auburn's going to be replacing Trey Mason, but it's sort of like Chip Kelly in the offensive side or Bobby Petrino with the quarterback. They can kind of make anybody work.
Yeah.
I think Gus Malzahn's going to have running backs, and he's just not. It's not going to matter. He's going to have a big, fast, strong running back or a small scat back type guy, and he's going to have somebody he can plug in who can play well. So I don't think that Arkansas is going to have a huge advantage, and it's better than Trey Mason being there. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
But I just think if Arkansas wins, it's going to have to be one of those things where it's a shootout, but Arkansas scored a bunch of points when Marshall was out, and then Auburn couldn't make it back. I think Auburn's going to win. I think they're going to win by 10 to 14 points. I don't think it's going to – if you gave me the 21, I'm taking Arkansas because that just to me is too many points. I know it's at Auburn. I know it's the first game of the year on the SEC network, but I just think Arkansas offers too many things for Auburn. Auburn doesn't really like getting punched in the mouth. No. And Arkansas, their offensive line is outweighed by only 4 NFL teams. Right. Their average weight. So, Arkansas's putting some big boys out there at offensive line and on the starting line, and then with the backups and the running backs, they're going to be able to keep the ball away from Auburn enough that I think that they're going to avoid getting blown out no matter what. Okay. That's just where I am.
So I want you to give me your score.
That's the Kool-Aid.
And then I want you to give me your Kool-Aid score.
No, well, I mean, my Kool-Aid score I can give you now, but Friday I'll give you my real score.
Okay.
Like I said, I think Arkansas is going to score 21 to 24 points at least.
Okay.
I think my Kool-Aid score would be Arkansas something like 38-31 if they were going to win. If I was drinking the Kool-Aid. Because Auburn's going to score, and Arkansas would have to have done some really good things on the offensive side. Somebody like Corliss Marshall or Alex Collins have to bust off a long touchdown run or two.
Hey.
And I mean, it's possible. I don't think anybody's predicting that.
No.
Auburn, I think, is going to win the game, and that's my Kool-Aid pick there for a Monday. But on Friday, I'll give you my detailed picks. Auburn's been getting top 5 recruiting classes for 5 years, and with Gus Malzahn, the cupboard's not bare. He's going to have some guys to plug in. He's got a quarterback coming back. He's got a wide receiver in Coates that I think is really, really good.
Yeah.
So I think Auburn's going to be able to win the game. I hope beyond hope that I'm wrong. I'm going to have a group at the house watching on the big screen with the surround sound, and I'm hoping that Arkansas is going to win. That's as much Kool-Aid as I can muster right now.
Okay, and we still have this game week coming up. So Nick Marshall might not be able to get off the weed, and so maybe he won't get to play at all.
That's
Who
true.
knows?
If he gets busted again between now and Friday,
he's got a lot of time to screw something up here.
That's absolutely true. All right, let's look real quickly. We're going to have to get out of here in about the next 7 or 8 minutes, but let's look real quickly at the college football playoff. It's the inaugural year. Jeff Long and his boys there are going to be naming the top 4 teams. They're going to be putting the top 4 teams in the semifinals on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and then going into the championship game. Who you got in that championship game? I've got a pretty I don't know, it's not controversial, but I've got a little bit of an exciting look at this year's college football playoff. Got things a little differently than other people do. Obviously, Braxton Miller's injury kills Ohio State. It takes them out. I had them on the fringe of my college football playoff, and I thought I would have a Big Ten team in it. So they were sort of the.
So now you got Michigan State.
I've got Michigan State as my Big Ten team in it. A lot of people are high on Wisconsin this year. Melvin Gordon, dude's the real deal. He's really, really good. But I've got Michigan State because of what they did to Ohio State last year. I was going to have to go with them anyway. In the conference championship game, they just manhandled them, and they play the type of football that Brett Bielema's trying to get going here at Arkansas, which I like. They play that really tough defense, but they're just going to punch you in the mouth on every play, offensively and defensively. Sort of what Stanford does in the Pac-12, Michigan State does in the Big Ten. I've got an SEC school, which it's not a big surprise. I've got Alabama. They're replacing the quarterback, and that's usually one of my big bugaboos. That's one of my things that I say, all right, I'll take a little bit of steam away from this team because they're replacing the quarterback. But with a fourth, it looks like Sims is going to be the starter. He's a senior, and he's going to be taking over, which Coker was, all the talk was about Coker, the Florida State transfer, being the guy. Doesn't look like he's going to get it done. It looks like Sims is more steady. He's going to be the guy. I am sort of intrigued by the thought that Alabama, every time they have a game manager at quarterback, a John Parker Wilson, they'll play well against most everybody, and then they'll get to the big boys, and they'll find a way. So I was watching the Florida-Alabama game, and Parker Wilson just wasn't good enough to make the big play. A.J. McCarron was good enough to, when he needed to beat you, he would beat you. He would make that 300-yard game happen. He would have that 3-touchdown game, and it would supplement the running game enough that Alabama was able to win. So I'll be intrigued to see if Sims is a game manager or if he has a little bit more of that A.J. McCarron in him. That, okay, I got a little something for you here. So we'll be interested to see. I'm betting on Nick Saban. I'm betting on Alabama to figure it out and get there from the SEC. That means they'll have to beat an Auburn. They'll have to obviously beat LSU in a murderer's row in the SEC. Probably a Georgia in the SEC championship game, who I've got winning the East. We'll give you our breakdown on Wednesday.
They got to get past Arkansas.
Oh, they've got to beat Arkansas. Now, that's a tough one. It's here this year, isn't it?
Yeah. Right.
They got to come to our house, right? I hope it's not 52.
Hey, last time they came to our house, it's a tough game.
It was pretty bad, wasn't it? It was 52-0.
That's right.
Oh, makes my heart hurt. Yeah, no, it's not going to be that bad this year, I hope. But I've got Alabama. I've got Michigan State. I've got Florida State. They don't play a great schedule. Their schedule, honestly, is pretty terrible. And honestly, that's sort of why I've left a couple of teams out. I've left Oklahoma out from the Big 12 because they don't have a conference championship game, and their schedule is not that great. So I've left Oklahoma out, although a lot of people have Oklahoma in.
Do you have the rankings there, like the preseason up? Because I was wondering where Oklahoma is ranked right now.
Well, the preseason rankings had Oklahoma up there pretty high. Yeah, I think they were top 5 for sure. They were number 4 in the AP top 25. Florida State 1, Alabama, Oregon, Oklahoma in your top 4.
Even if you play a bad schedule, if you're already ranked highly, you can get away with it a lot of times, which is sad. But
yeah, they've got Ohio State number 5. That was obviously in before the Braxton Miller injury, and they've got Michigan State number 8. So I've got Michigan State in the college football playoff, Alabama, Florida State. So there's no real surprise there. But rather than Oklahoma in at number 4, I've got Oregon in. Last year, Stanford, and the last couple of years, Stanford has just manhandled Oregon. They've just beaten them at the point of attack, and they've beaten them because they've been more physical, and they haven't necessarily been more talented, so to speak. Oregon puts tons of talent and speed on the field, but they've just been beaten up. I think this year is the year a lot of folks are talking about UCLA, number 7 here. A lot of folks have them in the college football playoff, or Stanford, who's returning a quarterback. But Marcus Mariota, I think he's going to be a Heisman frontrunner. I don't know that he'll win it because Heisman frontrunners almost never win it because they come in with all the hype, and then it doesn't matter what they do. They almost can never match up to the hype. So I don't think that he'll win the Heisman, but I do think that Oregon's going to figure out Stanford. This year, last year it was 26-20, and Oregon gets them at home this year at Autzen. I think they're going to figure out that Stanford problem, and they're going to be able to beat the Fighting Trees, and then they're going to go into the college football playoff. So I've got Alabama, Michigan State, I've got Oregon, and I've got Florida State. That's my 4 on August 25th. Who do you have? Go to facebook.com/sportsblitz. Let us know who you've got in the college football playoff. We'll see. Maddie, who do you have?
Arkansas.
You don't know. Come on now.
No, I really don't. I actually like your list.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to argue with a lot of those just looking at it before the season.
Well, we'll see if this happens. Obviously, each one of these teams, Michigan State, they've got a Big Ten schedule with the Big Ten championship game, so they've got some chances to lose. Oregon, they play UCLA, they play USC, they play Stanford. So they've got a tough schedule there. And then Oklahoma doesn't play anybody, so that's why I have them out of it. They could easily work their way in because they don't play anybody. I think Texas is still a couple years away with Charlie Strong from being a competitor there in the Big 12. I think that lack of a Big 12 championship game is going to hurt them. Especially when it's not computers, it's men and women who are sitting in a room saying, okay, this team deserves to be in consideration because XYZ, and then, well, this team won the conference championship, or this team lost one game and they had a conference championship game, and this team, they lost a game or they didn't lose any games, but they didn't play a conference championship. I think it's going to be weighed against them sort of heavily there with the conference or with the strength of schedule as well. So I think Oklahoma's going to be hurt by that. That and all the negative publicity that Oklahoma's gotten this offseason, the Dorial Green-Beck, the Joe Mixon, two guys who domestic abuse sorts of allegations against them. Dorial Green-Beckham's waiver was denied, So I don't know if he's going to stay at Oklahoma. I guess it's too late now for him to go someplace else, but he may stay at Oklahoma. He'll never play. We mentioned this before the show ended before. He'll never play a down for Oklahoma. He's going to go pro after this season because he'd be stupid to come back and play a redshirt junior year for Oklahoma when he could go after 3 years and be a top 10 pick. I mean, they're not going to have any tape on him for this year, but everybody knows the talent that Dorial Green Beckham has. He's going to go pro after this year. So I think that it's just going to be a lot. There's been a whole lot of bad publicity around the University of Oklahoma this year. So we'll see if they can withstand that. I don't have them in my top 4, much to the chagrin of my family who is in Oklahoma right now, and they're probably not real happy with me. So, all right. Anything else here? I'm looking down here at I don't want to give too much of my Razorback talk away, so I guess we ought to put a bow on it for the day, and we'll see if there's anything else that comes up between now and Wednesday. You can be a part of the show. You can call us at 968-NEWS. That's 968-6397. You can email me any sports information topics you want to discuss or you want to have a little bit greater input on at mark@rivervalleyleader.com. You can be a part on Twitter. Follow me at Real Mark Freeman, or you can come to facebook.com/sportsblitz. Many ways to be a part of the Sports Blitz here on rivervalleyleader.com. So we want you to be a part of the show. I don't have a co-host, so now I'm talking for an hour straight, and that gets tough. Here. Maddie, he does exist, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That's all the time we've got for Monday, though. We've had a good time being back. We'll be back on Wednesday at 11 o'clock with more Sports Blitz. For Maddie and David here in the office, we appreciate all the calls, Coach Craner calling in, and everyone else who has participated in today's show. I'm Mark saying so long. We'll be back at 11 o'clock on Wednesday at rivervalleyleader.com.